Near Manaus, Brazil, October 31st, 2023, 1:43 a.m. The screams started long after the music had stopped. If you love stories like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. The bonfire crackled and spat tiny sparks into the humid night air, each ember drifting upward like a dying firefly. Around it, laughter had long turned into uneasy whispers. A heavy mist had begun creeping in from the edge of the jungle, that endless breathing wall of green that locals said no one should enter after midnight. Emma sat on a log, twirling her plastic cup, half drunk, half bored. The party was supposed to be wild. Her boyfriend Lucas had promised it. Halloween in the jungle, he'd said. No neighbours, no rules, no noise complaints. But as the hours bled into midnight, the fun had begun to rot. The generator had cut out twice. The speakers hissed with static, and someone swore they'd seen a pale light moving through the trees. Probably fireflies, someone had said. But fireflies didn't float in perfect circles. By 11:30, most people were either passed out in tents or making out in the shadows. Lucas was nowhere to be found. Emma checked her phone. No signal. The mist thickened, rolling in waves between the trees, swallowing the bonfire's orange glow. Then came the whisper. It wasn't loud, just a soft, breathy sound, like a woman humming behind her ear. Emma turned. The trees behind her shivered, though there was no wind. "Lucas!" she called, forcing a laugh. "If that's you, not funny." No answer. Her flashlight cut through the fog like a blade, illuminating vines, roots, and black soil that seemed to move. The jungle at night had its own pulse, its own heartbeat, crickets, frogs, unseen wings. But somewhere deep here, there was another sound. Low, rhythmic, almost like chanting. She hesitated. The others were too drunk to notice her leaving. Still holding her cup, Emma stepped toward the tree line. The moment she crossed into the forest, the music from the party faded like it had been swallowed. The air changed, cooler, thicker, and carrying a faint metallic scent, like rain mixed with blood leaves, brushed her shoulders. Roots tangled beneath her boots. Somewhere, something small darted past, too fast to see. She called again. "Lucas, come on." A branch cracked behind her. She spun around. Nothing. Her flashlight flickered. The beam caught something shiny on the ground. A silver chain. Lucas's necklace. The one with the small gold ring he wore as a lucky charm. "Lucas," she whispered again, but her voice broke. She picked it up, cold and wet. A drop of something dark smeared her fingers. "Mud," she told herself. "Just mud." But the jungle had gone quiet now. No crickets, no frogs, only her breathing. Then faintly she saw light ahead. Not a flashlight, not fire. A perfect circle, glowing faint blue, hovering in the mist about 30 feet away, a halo. It pulsed once, twice, like it was alive. The air hummed. The trees leaned toward it, as if bowing. Emma took a step closer. The ground seemed to breathe under her feet. Her ears rang, pressure building like she was underwater. Lucas. The halo shifted, not moving, turning, like an eye opening, and from within its glow shadows began to form, long, thin human shapes that didn't touch the ground. Her legs froze. She wanted to run, but the light held her in place. A whisper rippled through the fog. Dozens of voices layered over each other, speaking in a language she didn't know one word cut through. Sombra. Shadow. Her flashlight flickered out. Total darkness. Then something touched her shoulder. Emma screamed, spinning. But it was Lucas. Or at least something that looked like him. His eyes were wide, glassy, reflecting the blue glow behind him. His mouth moved, but no sound came. He grabbed her wrist, cold and trembling. "Run!" he mouthed. She tried, but her feet wouldn't move. The forest floor had turned soft, sucking at her boots. Behind Lucas, the halo flared brighter, lighting up the fog like daylight. And in that light, she saw faces, hundreds of them. Human faces, pale and half-formed, emerging from the trees themselves. Their eyes glowed faint blue, mouths open in silent screams. The sound that followed wasn't human. It was deep, guttural. The sound of something ancient awakening. Lucas yanked her hand, finally breaking her paralysis. She stumbled backward as the halo began to collapse inward, like it was swallowing itself. But as it shrank, it pulled the air around it, and Lucas with it. He let out a choked gasp, reaching for her. "Don't!" The light consumed him. The trees groaned. Emma screamed, diving forward. But all that remained was his necklace, lying in the dirt, still glowing faintly blue. She didn't remember running. Only the sound of branches tearing at her clothes, the slap of leaves, the distant echo of that inhuman growl. When she finally burst out of the tree line, the bonfire was gone. The clearing was empty. The tents were shredded, cups and costumes scattered, like the wind had torn through everything. But the air was wrong. No sound, no smell of smoke, no generator hum. Just the heavy, electric silence of a place that didn't belong to the world anymore. She looked up and froze. The sky wasn't black. It was white. The moon hung low, unnaturally large, surrounded by a glowing ring, a halo. It pulsed slowly, in rhythm with her heartbeat. Emma stumbled back, clutching Lucas's necklace. "Please," she whispered. "Someone." A whisper answered. The same voice as before. Soft, female, very close. "You shouldn't have followed the light." Her flashlight flickered back on by itself, and in its beam stood a woman. Barefoot, dressed in a soaked white gown, her hair tangled with leaves. Her eyes glowed faintly, the same blue as the halo. Emma stepped back, trembling. "Who are you?" The woman smiled, but her lips didn't move naturally, like a puppet forced to grin. "We keep the ones who see," she said. "And you saw." Emma turned and ran. The woman didn't follow. She didn't need to. The forest seemed to close around Emma, branches weaving together, sealing paths she'd just come from. She tripped over something soft, looked down. It was Lucas's jacket. And beneath it, a hand, small, pale, reaching up from the dirt. Emma screamed and fell back, scrambling away. The hand twitched once, twice, then sank slowly into the soil, leaving only a ripple of light behind it. The whisper came again, from every direction now. "You saw the halo?" She covered her ears, shaking her head. "No, no, I didn't." The earth trembled. The halo above her flared brighter, washing the forest in white. The air vibrated. Then everything went silent again. Completely silent. She opened her eyes and found herself standing at the edge of the forest again. The tents were back. The fire burned low. People laughed, talked. The music was playing. It was as if nothing had happened. She blinked, tears on her cheeks. Lucas stood by the fire, waving at her, smiling. "Where'd you go, babe?" he called. "You okay?" Emma couldn't speak. She looked at his neck. The necklace, still there. Her hand, however, was empty. She stepped closer, staring at him. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, and as she got nearer, she saw something faint, a soft blue shimmer under his skin, pulsing with every heartbeat. "Lucas?" she whispered. He smiled wider. "You saw the light, didn't you?" The halo flickered above the trees again, faint but visible. and somewhere in the forest the woman's voice whispered, "Now, you belong to it." Emma's breath hitched. The bonfire's light shimmered off Lucas's face, but the warmth was gone. His eyes, that faint blue pulse beneath his skin, it wasn't human anymore. "Lucas," she whispered, voice cracking. What's happening to you?" He tilted his head slightly, the same charming grin frozen in place, as if it had been carved there. "You came back," he said softly. "They don't like when people come back." Her stomach turned. "What do you mean?" Lucas stepped forward, the flames behind him bending slightly toward his body, drawn to something inside him. His shadow didn't match his movements. When he raised his hand, the shadow's hand lagged behind, twitching. "You saw it," he said. "The halo showed you." The air around them began to shimmer. The laughter from the others sounded distant now, muffled, like voices coming from underwater. She looked around. Everyone else at the party seemed frozen in motion. Cups halfway lifted, faces half turned, mouths open in laughter. But nothing moved. "Lucas," he reached for her hand. "You shouldn't be here, Em. They already marked you." Her pulse hammered. "Marked me for what?" He glanced toward the forest, where the fog was rising again. Taller now, moving like it had a purpose. Shapes flickered inside it, stretching between the trees, whispering her name in overlapping voices. "Emma, Emma." Her heart stuttered. "Lucas, we have to go," she said, grabbing his wrist. Cold, stiff, not like living skin. "We can go to the road. Call someone." But his grip tightened. His eyes turned completely black for a moment, then flickered back to blue. "You don't understand. There's no road anymore." "What?" He pointed to the tree line. "They're already here." And with that, the fire died. Darkness swallowed everything. The music, the laughter, the frozen people, gone. Only the pale moonlight remained, leaking through the mist like a faint memory. Then she heard the sound again. That deep, low growl. But this time it came from everywhere. Above her, behind her, under the earth. "Lucas?" He didn't answer. When her eyes adjusted, she realized she wasn't in the clearing anymore. She stood in the same spot, but it was different. The ground beneath her feet pulsed softly, veins of blue light running like capillaries through the soil. The trees leaned inward, impossibly tall, their bark glistening as if wet with oil, and the air hummed, vibrating deep in her bones. "Lucas!" she screamed. His voice came from somewhere far behind her. "Run!" She turned and bolted toward the sound. Branches tore at her arms and face. Roots caught her shoes. Her breath came in ragged bursts. She stumbled into a clearing she didn't recognize. A circle of old stones, half buried, covered in strange markings that pulsed faintly with the same blue light. The halo hung directly above it, brighter than ever, spinning slowly, humming like a swarm of bees. Something inside it moved. Emma froze. Through the flickering light, she saw silhouettes forming, figures stepping forward. They weren't walking. They floated, their faces blurred, their bodies wrapped in light that looked like smoke. One of them spoke. Its voice was soft, echoing like wind through hollow bones. "You saw us." Emma's knees weakened. "I don't understand. What do you want?" The figure tilted its head. "What is seen must stay." Her voice trembled. "Stay where?" "In the light." The other figures began to circle her, their movements slow, synchronized, like a ritual dance. The blue glow bathed her skin, seeping into her veins, making her fingertips tingle and burn. She tried to run, but the air had thickened. Every step felt like pushing through water. Her body was heavy, her thoughts blurred. The whisper returned, thousands of voices blending into one. Join the light, join the circle, the halo keeps what it claims. A sudden scream broke through, human, desperate. Lucas. Emma! He stumbled into the clearing, his shirt torn, blood smeared down his arm. He looked alive, terrified. The blue shimmer beneath his skin was gone. He grabbed her, pulling her away from the circle. Don't look at it, he yelled. The figures hissed, their shapes distorting, faces stretching unnaturally. The halo flared violently, blasting a wave of light that knocked them both to the ground. Emma's ears rang. Her vision flickered. When she opened her eyes again, Lucas was crouched over her, shaking her shoulders. Em, listen to me. We don't have much time. What is this? She gasped. What are they? They're not ghosts, he said quickly. They're echoes. The jungle remembers everything that dies here. The halo. It's not from the sky. It's under the ground. It pulls them up when the veil's thin enough. Her eyes widened. The veil? It happens every Halloween, he said, looking around frantically. Every year, the jungle feeds. It shows people what they shouldn't see. That's why the locals don't celebrate here. The lights behind them grew brighter again. The whispering turned into screaming. He grabbed her hand. Run! They stumbled through the forest, crashing through brush and vines, the glow following them like a living storm. The halo's hum deepened, shaking the ground. Suddenly, Lucas stopped. Ahead of them was the road. Or what looked like it. A narrow dirt path, half hidden by roots and leaves. Go, he said. Keep running until you see lights. Don't look back. She hesitated. What about you? I can't leave, he said, eyes flickering faint blue again. I was taken last year. They let me out just long enough to bring someone back. Emma's chest tightened. You're lying. He smiled sadly. I wish I was. The light behind him grew brighter, shapes forming again, stretching from the mist. He stepped back toward them. Go, Emma, please. Tears streamed down her face. Lucas, no. He looked at her one last time. Really looked. Tell them not to come here again. Then the halo flared. Swallowing him whole, the shockwave threw her backward into the trees. When she opened her eyes, the jungle was dark again. Silent, she crawled to her knees, shaking. The halo was gone. Only the moon remained. Calm, white, ordinary. She stumbled toward the road, half blind, sobbing, until she saw a pair of headlights cutting through the trees. A truck screeched to a stop. 2 locals jumped out, older men, faces drawn tight with fear. They found her on her knees, covered in dirt and scratches. One of them wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, murmuring in Portuguese. The other looked toward the forest, then crossed himself. You saw it, he said quietly. The ring of light. Emma's lips trembled. It took him. The man's eyes softened. It always takes one. He turned to the forest again. You are lucky, Menina. The jungle let you go. They took her back to town. She never went near the forest again. But sometimes at night she'd wake to that same hum. Faint, distant, like the sound of wind moving through trees. And in the corner of her room, when the moonlight hit just right, she'd see it. A perfect circle of pale blue light spinning slowly on the wall. The halo, and within it, a shadow watching her. She stopped sleeping after that. A year later, on Halloween night, locals found a new campsite near the same stretch of forest. Tourists, young people, laughter echoing through the trees. Among the trash they left behind was a single photo, burned around the edges. In the centre of the picture, a group of friends smiling near a bonfire, and behind them, faintly visible through the fog, a glowing blue ring hovering above the trees, the same halo, still waiting